Hey there YouTube, it's Michael Gallagher here, the Media Preacher, back with another video, and today I'm going to look at digital audio workstations, or as we know them, DAWs. Specifically, I'm a Logic user. Bought this MacBook Air a few years back and was effectively forced into using Logic at that time because Pro Tools was so darn expensive. But I was able to get Logic for a reasonable price. It's about £200. It comes with everything you could ever want. I mean, you could use GarageBand. That comes with lots. I just wanted a mixer section, and GarageBand didn't have a mixer section. I don't know if it does now, but I wanted that mixer section, and so I bought Logic. But recently I've been looking around, and I keep seeing on the internet people talking about Universal Audio's new digital audio workstation. It's called LUNA. And people keep saying on the internet it's a fantastic workstation, it's got a very analog feel, it's very intuitive, and it's very close to Pro Tools. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to download it and I'm going to record something really simple into it, and I'm going to see how well I get on with it. So I've got a Wurlitzer sound that I'm using from Piano Tech, and I'm using a vocal, and I set up my little M-Audio key station, and I recorded a vocal and a keys track. If you're enjoying the content, if you enjoyed the video, let me know. Please leave me a comment. If you've used LUNA, let me know. If you're a Logic user and you've left for LUNA, definitely let me know, and let me know why. Let me know what it is you like about LUNA, what you don't like. Let me know if you're planning on using it. Leave me a comment, let me know. Also, please subscribe to the channel. So it's the usual affair, really. But I really like this because the buttons all look a lot thicker and a lot more substantial than they do on Logic. One of my gripes with Logic is, while you've got a mixer section, I don't really like the interface of it. I think everything looks a bit small. I'm sort of squinting at it a lot. And when I opened this up, I immediately thought, wow, this is much closer to Pro Tools. The buttons look a lot thicker. I'm not squinting to see it. And it's got everything I'd expect to see. So you've got the little bar at the top with the record arm switch, the play switch, the stop switch, the loop switch. It's got a really nice metronome. One of the things I sometimes gripe about is that I can't hear the metronome very well, and on this digital audio workstation I can change the volume of the metronome with this little dB function here, and that works absolutely fantastic. So I could really hear the metronome as I was playing, and I found it a lot easier to use than metronomes in other DAWs that I've used, to be fair. So that's a big plus for it. So at the minute, all positive. Got a really nice interface. You've got all the record arm switches. You've got the usual interface switch, so you can hear what that can hear. You've got solo, you've got mute, you've got pan switches, then you've got inserts up here. It puts immediately on this Studer tape machine emulation, which I must admit is fantastic. Now, I bought some UAD plugins, I think in about December, and I used them in Logic on every one of the tracks that I recorded for my album The Boy Doesn't Learn. If you haven't heard it, please go and check it out. It's on the channel, loads of work went into it, and it's a good listen. But I used all the UAD plugins when I bought them on that, and I was so impressed. And I thought the quality of the UAD plugins was on a different level to the Wave plugins that I previously used. Here's where we come to our first real catch. The DAW is free, but when you open it up, unlike other digital audio workstations that I've used, there's very little inside it. So you get this Studer tape machine plugin, which is on a trial, so you have to buy it. There's a version of that called Oxide, which is also very good, that I have in the bundle that I bought at Christmas. That does come for free. But you don't get very much else in terms of plugins. I mean, I'm talking about basic things here. Where's the EQ? You know, every track I use, the first thing I put on it is an EQ, and if it's a vocal or an acoustic guitar or an instrument that doesn't have a lot of bass, I immediately roll off all that low end, so I don't have any rumble, I don't have any mud in the mix. But I can't do that on this because there's nothing there. A basic compressor. Every other DAW has a basic compressor. This doesn't have one. Of course, I understand why these things are missing. These things are missing because Universal Audio are giving you a great digital audio workstation here, but then they're saying to you, but we want you to buy into our ecosystem, so we want you to go and buy our plugins, and their plugins are of a very, very, very high standard. So I don't have an issue with that, but it does mean that this isn't really a free audio workstation because you're going to have to go and buy some things. Anyway, my fix to this not having a plugin was you can go in and buy a Waves one. It's like 30 quid for a basic basic EQ. I thought I don't want to spend 30 quid because I'm only really testing the software. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I've got everything I want already in Logic. Did a quick Google search for free parametric EQs, and up came this one called from Nova called Tokyo. Fantastic. All I did was I stuck Tokyo basically on every single track, made a little template for myself, and rolled off all the low end. Then any instruments that I want to have some low end, like bass or maybe electric guitar, I'll add the low end back later, but just to keep the mix clean so I can really hear what's going on. So that was my workaround. So you can get plugins that work, and I've got a load of UA plugins anyway, so I'm going to use them on the mix because I really like their compressors, I really like their reverbs, and I particularly liked their LA2A compressors. They are absolutely fantastic. I mean, they take a guitar sound, for instance, and they make it sound so meaty and so like beefy. It's just not there without it. They add a hell of a lot. And like I said, I got the UA plugins. I got like a little bundle of basic plugins just before Christmas in December on offer for about, I think they're about £50, and they've just been money so well spent. So I'm going to use the UA plugins in Luna, but of course I can already use them in Logic, so they're not adding anything extra. First glance, Luna's got a nicer interface, in my opinion. I also like the fact it's got these VU switches, which you don't get all the time. Onwards and upwards, what's next? So I plug in the M Audio, I bring up the piano tech, and it plays perfectly, no latency. But when I then put the microphone into UA, because I had some compressors going, I had a reverb send going on, I had my piano tech going, all quite power hungry. All of a sudden I start realising that I've got latency issues, and I'm singing, but then I'm hearing like a millisecond later my own voice coming back at me, which kills musicality. You can't record like that. So I thought, I wonder if I've done something wrong. I don't know. I pulled up Logic with an even more intensive template, and there was no latency. So immediately that tells me that Luna, at this point anyway, still has latency issues, which frankly is no good, and that is a complete deal breaker. Until they fix the latency issues, I'm not going to be using Luna. I recorded my basic keys and vocal part after I got the latency to an acceptable standard by changing the buffer zone and also by taking out some of the compressors that I had on the session. And I got the latency so it wasn't actually bothering me, and I was able to record reasonably well. I love the fact that it had VU meters going. I love the fact that it does have this very analog style to the layout of this digital audio workstation. So I then came to mix, automations there, all the usuals, EQ'd everything. I love the fact that the saturation plugins, where they sounded amazing, though I do have saturation plugins already in some of my Andrew Schweppes plugins on Waves, and I think there's some stuff on the bundle as well that I bought at Christmas that does the same thing, so I could do all of that in Logic. I played the part straight, but I recorded the part to MIDI, and there was one bum note in there, so I thought, I'll just move that bum note. And I was able to do it, but I didn't find it as intuitive as the MIDI editing that I have in Logic at my disposal. So we've now got two really big things that give Logic a huge edge over Luna. The first is it's made for this computer, Logic. It works flawlessly with it. It's a plug-and-play situation, and there's no latency. Luna, the latency is definitely a lot worse, and I couldn't use the same amount of plugins with it. So that's a big strike. The MIDI capability of Logic is far superior to the MIDI capability in Luna at the moment. I would imagine in time to come that will improve. But at the moment, the editing functions just are not there in the same way. A lot of the basic editing functions are there. They're the same. They work really well. I don't have a problem with them. But I can't say, even though I prefer the interface, I can't say that I prefer Luna as a digital audio workstation, primarily for those two reasons. I think that the sound that I've got out of this is fantastic. I'm going to upload the song in a moment so you can hear the mix down that I did. But it's missing other features as well that Logic has that are really important. I'm not really a drummer. I use Logic Drummer a lot. I also use Native Instruments drum packages as well for backing tracks. But I particularly like the Logic one because it's very intuitive. It's artificial intelligence. It basically tells you what it thinks the beat should be. You can then listen to that beat and you can manipulate it to how you actually want it but it gives you a very, very good starting point. Luna doesn't have anything like that in it at the moment. So that gives Logic a massive, massive, massive advantage. Also, of course, in Logic, I've got the AI mastering assistant. So on my mix bus channel strip, when I finish my mix, I then put the AI mastering plugin on it, and it normally makes my mix sound really, really nice. Nothing like that in Luna. So it's missing another really, really important feature that Logic has just as standard. Now, the one thing I would say is that at the moment Luna is quote-unquote free and Logic is £200. But, there's a big but here, to make Luna workable you are going to have to go and buy some good plugins. Whether you buy them at Waves or whether you buy them at UAD, you're probably going to be spending at least £100 to £150, £200 on plugins to make it usable, because I think the mixdown that I've done sounds great, but that's more down to the plugins than anything else, because it's not doing anything that I can see that I can't do in Logic. The only benefit I keep coming back to is I prefer the layout of the interface. But because the usability of Logic is so much better, because it's made for my Mac, because it runs seamlessly, and because it has really important features that just aren't included in Luna, right now I don't think I will be switching to Luna. And if I'm using a digital audio workstation and not a standalone recorder for recording, then I'm probably going to keep using Logic for now, because I think it gives you the best feature set against the best price. But that said, I'm going to be keeping my eye on Luna because I love it. I think it sounds great. I think it's really intuitive to use. I love the layout of it. As I said, it's nicer layout than on Logic. And if they were to add a few small things to it, even if they just added the basic EQs and basic compressors that Logic and Pro Tools and all the other DAWs come with as standard, that would be a huge tick on the box. And then to add some AI drums, that kind of thing, would take it to a level where I think I would then say to you, as long as the latency issues are sorted, that I would move to Luna, because it just looks and feels more analog and it's kind of more fun to work on. I don't think Logic's quite as much fun to work on because the layout's not as nice. At the moment, I can't justify it. I'm sorry, UAD, you're not quite there. But the digital audio workstation Luna, it's got a lot of promise, but it's not quite there. So anyway, without further ado, this is a song I wrote with my friend Andrew Shanley called I Could Tell. I uploaded a video that showed me writing it with him a few weeks ago. So if you get a chance, look at that.
I said, how do you do on the day he mad at you? Smiling through those broken teeth he gave to you. You said it wasn't him, you felt it was the gin, but I ain't so blind that I can't tell. He made you high, he made you low, he made you choke, then he made you go. And I could tell, oh, I could tell, oh, I could tell on the day that he murdered you. And I could tell, oh, I could tell, oh, I could tell on the day that he murdered you. He murdered me too. could tell